Got a seat there now?
No, I just want to. This is my grandson Logan. This is all my friends that I work with. So, first time you've ever been to a government thing. So,
Sit at the end.
you want to sit down?
Sit down there.
You want to sit at the very end? His aunt is coming to pick him up.
Okay, that's fine.
But if he sits there, he has to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's right.
Can you do that, Logan? Can you lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And Logan, Lee, would you help me with the Pledge of Allegiance? Start us. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We always start our meetings with introduction to all of the board members. We will, the absence of Logan Lee down there, but Rich.
Good evening. My name is Rich Johnson. I live in the Crabapple area.
I'm Tim Bryan. I have a business in Crabapple.
I'm Marty Littleton. I live on Freemanville Road.
I'm Laura Weissong. I live in Crooked Creek.
Tony Shepard, live in Nettlebrook Farms.
I'm Ed Parsons. I live on Red Road.
Thank you. Can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
Actually, Mr. Chair, I have two things that I would like to add to the agenda. I believe the 15260 Hopewell Road, the demo, and then also the Parkside Silos
Okay.
revision. So we'll need a motion to amend the agenda, please.
Motion to amend the agenda as recommended by Angela.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we need a motion to move approval of the December meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the December meeting minutes.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Where do you want to put the two additions?
So if you have the revised agenda that was over there, the demo is 5C, and then Parkside can go at 6C. 6C, yes.
Okay. Got it. Hopewell was the one.
I think you already got it on there.
I do. Okay, good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with the demos. The first one we're going to go with is 16320 Freemanville Road. It was deferred from last month. Come on up. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening. My name is Kevin Conley. I own the property at 16320 Freemanville Road, and we wanted to demo the house. The house was built in 1988. It's been vacant, I think, now for going on 10 months. Pretty run down, and no historical value. I just want to come and get a permit.
Which, I'm doing extra copies of that one, too.
This one?
Okay, this is the one we saw last month that,
They had the wrong email address, and so we didn't know that it was happening. So I wasn't notified, so that's why we missed it.
okay. You're putting back a single-family house?
They're going, it's a approved LDP for a 29-lot subdivision.
Okay. Bob, do you have any comment? Angela?
No, sir.
Anybody from the board? Okay, do we have any public comment? Okay. There's nothing significantly important about the building and structure itself, so we have no problems.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve agenda item 5A, 16320 Freemanville Road, as submitted.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Pardon me, Logan.
Your aunt is at the back door, right there. Okay?
Thanks for serving.
Thank you, son.
Good job.
Okay. Next is 5B, 14380 Cogburn Road. It's you.
You guys have pictures.
Yes. I think we did.
Yes.
I'm Scott Reese, Brombelow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia 30004. Here tonight representing Dr. Caleb Ishwanath in his application to demo the existing residence on the 8.5 acres that he owns up there. It's a late 50s, early 60s brick ranch, prevalent in that was built in this area. He wants to take this down where he can build his personal residence in behind. So I'll be glad to answer any questions. I don't think there's anything of any architectural or historical or social significance.
It's a brick ranch.
It's a brick ranch.
Did Mark come out and look at it regarding the trees?
Specimen trees are shown on the site plan. So if, I don't know if yours is visible, they're here with critical root zone on this if you wish to.
They're here.
Has he decided where he's going to put the house itself?
It is shown on the, oh, no, it's not. It'll be on the knoll overlooking the creek.
Kind of the center of the property?
Well, you see north and east of the poplar shown on there.
Okay.
Kind of where this knoll juts out over the
Okay.
creek. He wants, that'll give him a, I don't know, probably a 220-degree view of the stream.
Scott, where are they putting it? Can you point on the map there? Okay. So you guys going to save the
Well, they're-
36-inch oak and the 36-inch white oak?
Yes, those are,
Those are pretty trees that
Right.
I've never seen them.
and the house will be behind and south of that. So they're,
Right.
we've gone up, we've met Mark out there, and they're going to move some earth in and all. So there's a lot of tree fencing and silt fence up there now.
Okay. Bob, do you have any questions? Angela?
No, sir.
Anybody from the audience? Any other comment from the board? Jim, would you like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item 5B, the demolition for 14380 Cogburn Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you much.
Hey, Scott. Next is 5C, 15260 Hopewell Road.
Hey, good evening. I'm John Chatham, here representing the owner of Diversified Investment Group and the construction management company Chatham Neighborhoods for 15260 Hopewell Road. We request a demo permit for the vacant home that's located here. It's built probably in the late 40s, early 50s, probably. We've completed our asbestos removal and rodent inspection. We'd like to demo the house, and we don't have any plans for the property at this time.
Okay. Ultimately, somebody has a plan for that corner, because it's got the old building on it. We've been before that. Y'all have any idea? I mean, I know you have an idea what y'all are going to do with it.
Right now, he just wants to, owners said that he just wants to take the house down and clean the property back up. Yes.
Pardon me? Bob, this is where they're going to put the roundabout, right? Ultimately, in that general area.
Yeah, but it's planned in the future. It's like
Do you guys own the house across the street as well, on that side, same side of Thompson?
No, I don't believe we do.
So this is right across from Bell Memorial Park.
Yes, sir.
No, that's the building. That's the general store. This is the house attached. That's not a. I don't know if these piece of properties were.
It's one
I'd
piece.
speculate. Pardon me.
It's one piece.
It is.
Did they share a septic, or wasn't there something funky about that, or?
There are actually two separate septic systems.
There's two
Things
separate.
we looked into.
Well, the residential house is a 1 acre lot, right? 1.1.
It's a little over an acre.
Yeah.
And the store's staying?
Yes, sir.
Store's been put on historic.
Yeah, the store is zoned H,
Okay.
so it's protected.
Well, there's nothing redeeming about this house for me. I would like to make a motion to approve as presented. 1526. Oh, sorry about that. Public comment, any? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve 15260 Hopewell Drove as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next one, John, is final reviews for 6A Red Apple Montessori Temporary Classroom at 3505 Bethany Road.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ziad Nassar with RZ International. I'm the contractor for the project. Actually, this is a small part of a larger project. We had the property next door rezoned over the last 6 months to add a 6,000 square foot building. We haven't quite applied for that permit yet because we're supposed to have all our design done in the next week. But in the meantime, that's going to take a minute to get up and running. The school has more students that they need to accommodate while awaiting that building to be built. So they need a temporary trailer classroom, and which will only be there for less than a year. Once the building is up and running, that trailer will go away. I have pictures. I know we sent pictures of the trailer, but I have them on. You want this? While she's pulling up the file, the trailer will be effectively between the two buildings, pointing head into the street, so there's only the narrow part showing, and it would be behind an existing, well, we're going to have to rework the wood fence, but there's a 6-foot wood fence there that would be reworked and would be in front of it.
But this is fairly new ground for me in terms of what is. Honestly, when I was told about this particular project, I was blown away that we could put a mobile home in our city for residential use or commercial use for that matter. So I'll have to have a lot of help from staff
Okay?
as far as this is concerned. Is it a new trailer or a used trailer?
It's a used trailer.
Okay.
But, I mean, the pictures, based on the pictures, it looks fairly good. It's a, you know, a standard beige color trailer.
So from what little bit of research I've been able to do since I found out about the trailer being used, was that it is a use that can be done within the city of Milton. I don't know how we got that rule, but we have it. But some of the things that it can't do is it's not supposed to increase your enrollment.
It's not supposed to increase the enrollment?
You cannot have a trailer for increasing the enrollment.
How does that help you? As what? I mean,
Now, I could be wrong, so I want to know for a fact, because I don't want to do something that's wrong.
Right.
But I'm really personally opposed to having a trailer put on any site, not just this site, but any site other than a temporary sales trailer or something along those lines.
I will have Robin McDonald check into it tomorrow.
So with that being said, and if the trailer is allowed and increasing the enrollment is the obvious use of the trailer, is what you want to do, is increase the enrollment, do the increase in the enrollment at the time that you're building the building.
Right.
So here's my fear. My fear is that we sign off and say, okay, you can have a trailer. Then the next thing we know, you have 3 years to build that building on a corner that's reasonably important to our city, our area, and what it looks like and how it's going to be perceived. So you have 3 years to do it, then you got another probably a year or so of arguing about it being there already and us wanting it out. So it means that we could potentially have a 3 to 5 year window of problems as it relates to this trailer. So where I'm trying to go with this is that I want clarification from staff as to what the permissible things are that you can do, so that we know as a matter of legal fact and so we can follow the ordinance correctly. But
I fully appreciate your fears, and that's a very plausible possibility.
well, it is.
But
I mean, like for
but I
example,
will
the
tell you
permit's not
this.
been pulled on the building, ground hadn't been
This
broken.
gentleman already got his loan, and he's already paying interest on it to build the
Well,
building.
but if
He
you,
doesn't want to sit 5 years paying interest without.
Listen, I understand that, but you got to understand our perspective.
I'm
I
sure.
can't assume that this is going to go the best way possible. We got to look at it being that somewhere between the worst and the best.
Right.
And so, for example, we haven't even got an approval on the building at this point, have we? I mean, we've got the basic building approved, but we still have road issues. Because I know the road issues aren't straightened out for Forsyth County and the ramp and all the things that are being built. So when he
The
came up
road issue is a
originally,
lot bigger than us.
I understand.
We even tried to get somebody to answer us, and they're all ignoring us because
Who's
we're
that,
small
Forsyth?
potatoes. Well, you know, you've got 5 jurisdictions involved: Forsyth, Fulton, Alpharetta, Milton, and Georgia DOT, plus the developer across the street who is actually in Forsyth. And then there's at least 2 contractors working on the road. And we weren't able to get an answer from them as to what the plan is, because given what the others are bringing onto that road, that's what's really going to define the road, not the 100 students he has. So they
well, I
started
understand.
ignoring us.
I still understand that. I mean, I really do. But for the essence of what we have to do for our responsibilities, we really have to have a better definition of where the road is, where the entrances really are going to be at the end of the day, how your buildings really, like when he came up the very first time, the very first thing I ever said to them was, we got a bigger problem with DOT, Forsyth County. It's a narrow lot, relatively speaking, in a floodplain in the back. I mean, the laundry list is vast for me on this site for what you want to do right this minute. And
I thought we already cleared those hurdles, and that based on that agreement to where the building is, and we adjusted the location of the building, that we got the okay to put that building
You
right
do.
there.
from what, all that I know.
Right, so the next phase is just submitting all the design documents and structure and the water retention and all the associated documents to
But
actually
Bob,
get
doesn't
a
it have to
building
get,
permit.
my main concerns, kind of gotten off subject a little bit as a broad picture part, but my concerns still for the trailer are what I've suggested. Now, the board, I'm just one person of this group.
Understood.
So I'm not all.
Well, just as a point of clarification, are you adding the trailer to then demo the current building and build a new one, or are you going to extend, add addition onto the current building?
It's a separate building.
Well, the existing building was never subject to demolition.
Okay.
It's the house on 3503 that got rezoned commercial that would be replaced by the 6,000 square foot building. The existing school was going to stay. That new building was going to add 100 students to his enrollment, which he now has 50.
So he bought the second house, Rich, next to it. The new building's going to go on the second house lot. This trailer is to augment the population, the student population he will increase till he can get the building built.
So they currently have 50. They want to go to 150. So how many kids are going to be accommodated in the trailer?
The trailer can accommodate up to 20? 17. And it may not fill up, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, when you put your kid in a Montessori, unless you're really, really dissatisfied, you're not going to move them. So if somebody's coming off age and entering Montessori between now and end of next summer when we finish the building, if they don't come into he's lost them for good. And that's what he's trying to capture, that he right now has a backlog. If he can capture them so he can move them into the building, the minute the building gets up and running, he already has
Okay,
up to 17 students.
So when we're at to this point, I need to ask the technical question. Bob and Angela, if they're at 50 students now and he's going to grow to 67 students, the growing and putting new students in the facility, in the trailer, is what's not allowed. Is that correct?
I'll check that tomorrow.
Okay.
Marty, can we, to the extent, look at this, review what the trailer looks like from a design perspective, and any motion that we get to will be contingent upon, being, whether or not it's from an ordinance standpoint is allowed.
That's
Okay.
fair.
I mean, honestly, if he can't put students in it, why on earth would he want to pay for a rental of a trailer that he can't use?
No, I think from this perspective, from this board, we have to assume that any approvals they get from the city are going to have to be, in compliant with city ordinances. We need to say, if this is going to be here, it needs to look like X. I guess that's my thought process.
That's fine. It's.
Yeah, but I guess where I'm coming from is, I don't even think it should be here.
And that may be a very valid point.
Because there's too many issues with the construction of the building that they're getting ready to build. The approval process that is going to have to go through for that whole process is going to be, to me, very complex because of right-of-way with all the players involved. I just don't know how that's going to happen very quickly. I'm just trying to be very realistic here with what's going on over there. It is complex, and it will impact because you've got to have access in and out. I just don't see how it's not. And it won't be the city. It's going to be other jurisdictions. And you can't move forward until all that gets resolved. So, I'd love to say, yeah, it's going to be 6 or 8 months, but who knows?
See, it comes back down to that point is the timeline of how long you're allowed to have the building.
Right. We're asking for a temporary permit, 12 months, but now that we've veered into something else and you brought something else to our attention, now, granted, we all agree that this is way beyond Milton, way beyond us, this is the road. Are you telling me that we will not be able to build the building until every jurisdiction gets their act together on what happens on Bethany Road?
That'd be a more specific question to Angela probably than me, but for us. I think right away to the road, access to the road that's going to be there. I just think that stuff it can change, right? I mean,
Is your concern that with the road stuff, they build the trailer, all this stuff with the road happens, and they're not able to move into the new building? Is that
That's my concern.
so? So then they're stuck with the trailer. I mean, I'm just trying to think of solutions here. Let's say that we find a trailer that looks satisfactory, right? Can we put, Bob asked you, or Daniel, can you put it where the design of the building is only approved for 12 months, and after that 12 months, it's no longer valid? I mean, I don't know was there a time constraint?
I think the concern
The
is
thing is, the ordinance allows him to do a temporary building for 3 years, so we really can't
restrict.
Can't
force
restrict
him
the
to
timeline.
do something that the
But in
ordinance
the
doesn't allow
broadest sense,
him to
is
do.
building also extended to a trailer?
Right.
Is the building also extended?
I mean, the
A
term
a
building
trailer
is,
is considered a temporary classroom.
It has nothing to do with the building itself, the new construction of the building.
Well, but you got a certificate of occupancy for X number of kids in an original building. So that's county.
I mean, that's,
So you're saying there for education, you're going to get a certificate of occupancy before you have a building? I don't. That's
you can put students in a temporary building.
do you have a picture of the trailer?
Yes.
I don't know. Seems really weird to me. Well, that's Fulton County. This is it's the same.
So
It's different.
the thumb drive didn't work?
Fulton County can do
Couldn't get it to come up on
people own a
the
business.
screen.
Interesting. And they're JPEG pictures.
I couldn't get it to come up on there are 2 screens. I couldn't get it to come up on there.
The county rules.
Wonder which end of the trailer is going to. Which end of the trailer is going to be facing the road? The one with the AC unit?
Well, actually, the narrow
it would
part,
have to,
the
because
AC
that's where the
unit
phone
is on the backside. What's going to face the road is the hitch because they're going to back it in there.
Well, that's what.
Yeah, well, that's where the tongue
I
is.
can't believe we're going to do that.
And I mean, I wish that we could get the thing because right now the building has a parking lot right next to it, and this is going to be on the end of the parking lot. And there's a parking lot next to the building, and towards the end of the parking lot is where it's going to back in, and there's a wood fence in front of it. Now, granted, you can see it from the side, but if we're building the other building, you're going to see it through the construction site anyway. And construction is only pretty to engineers. The average person finds it a mess until it's done.
I think this is number one, I think this is a flaw in an ordinance, to be quite honest, but that's a different issue. Number two, I think this is a really bad idea for that whole corner area. I can click off the number of issues that I think we're going to have down the road with this. And you've got many communities right up the street. I don't think they're going to be real happy about seeing that. There's just so many issues with this. I mean, I'm all about people running a business because I run a company. I get that. But I'm not sure this was all well thought through. Planning is part of running your business, and
Is your business permitted to expand the number of students? Like Montessori, do they allow you X number of students, then you have to reapply to get more students, or
Well,
how does that work?
the rezoning allowed him to increase from 50 students currently to 150 students.
well, that's what the
And
building.
the new building
That's
is
what
going to
the new
basically
building- That's what the new
accommodate.
building-
And they put a limit at 150, no more.
Right. But that's what the
So
building-
all the trailer is doing is absorbing some of those numbers as we move into the new building. It's
You
not
don't-
my
you
business,
don't
by the
have
way, I'm the
67
contractor.
Do you have 67 people in the existing building now?
He's got 50 students in the existing building, I believe so.
So
49
you're
right
going to
now.
go out and sell 17 more,
Right.
17
You want to
more
address that? Do you have a backlog? Do you have people already trying to get in?
seats.
I mean, he would be better positioned to.
Right now we have probably, my name is Bijo Ipen. I own Red Apple Montessori. We have probably 5 to 6 kids already waiting list. And we know this is the time up to summer, many more are going to come. And I did talk to Ms. Robin at the very beginning, can we do that? She said, according to the law, yes, we can do that. And that's after that only I
Who did you talk to?
Robin McDonald.
McDonald.
Yeah. After that only I started the process. Already spent a lot of time, for this. And I talked to Rob, Angela, everybody came, showed everything. Everything was fine.
So your new zoning has been approved,
Yes.
and your new capacity is how many?
Total 150. 150.
150. So according to the ordinance, I'm sorry, how many students do you have now?
49.
And you're going up to,
With the trailer, it will be 17, 18 more, something like that.
so according to the ordinance, he can increase his enrollment with the trailer up to what his rezoning allows.
It says the temporary classroom shall not be used to increase the capacity or enrollment as conditioned by zoning. So Angela's saying that if he's gone in front of council and got his enrollment increased by zoning now,
So it's not,
But
this
the
board's not
zoning-
technically increased.
The
because-
zoning was on the other lot, though, right?
Right.
The rezoning.
The zoning was to combine both lots into one lot, 400.
Was it?
So, I mean, I guess from our perspective, based
No,
on
we
that.
rezoned the other lot.
They combined them.
They combined both lots.
I don't remember that.
It might not happen here.
I must have missed that.
So I
Because
think
I
we
don't
can
remember
almost,
that.
I think we're pretty close to presuming that legally they're okay to do it. Now the question is what does it look like?
Yes.
And frankly, that building doesn't look very attractive.
It looks awful.
So we'll have
You
an
know, you gotta-
8-foot fence in front of that also. You won't even see from the front.
I
It's
don't
on the
see how that's
back.
possible.
You will see the top of it sticking out.
Here's the issue. I'm all for, I understand where you're headed. I get that. I am trying to find a solution here that's going to be amenable to the communities that live around it. And that solution right now, as is not. So I would be happy if you came back with a plan where you can offset it from the road and it actually might look good. I'd consider it, okay? But right now, no way.
Excuse me, it is
So what is-
offset from the road. It is behind the.
What I'm seeing here, I don't see a plan. I'm seeing
So one of the things you could do is come up with like a landscaping plan. Say, okay, here's where we're going to set it, and here's where the bushes are, here's where the fence
This
is.
is not a plan.
And create something
I
along.
was just answering the offset from.
Yeah,
I will say
what
that
you
if
need to
you-
bring is
if
you
you
need to,
take- If you take a look at what this board has done, say up in the manor, when they wanted something
right,
as a
Good
trailer there, the trailer was a whole different look.
right.
It looked more
It
like
needs
a
to look
building,
like a temporary
like
home.
like a temporary
basi-
building with
and
landscape.
we are
and-
okay with that. But a modular, you have, you're in a community now, okay? You have folks that live in communities that go up that street all the time. If you want to be a good citizen of the community, which I think you do, because you've been there for a while and you have a nice school. I go by it frequently. So I'm just saying, in order to be amenable and not upset the rest of the community, let's find a solution for you, for your business, to keep this moving. I'm all for that, but I think it's got to aesthetically look much better from the road.
Can you make it conditional base? I mean, either you want, because again, one more month waiting.
We can
You can
we
put
can do
fence or
that.
whatever you want. We can put the
Yep.
fence there.
And I think Bob is, our city architect, had an idea. 'Cause we're on the same
We could
path.
do what we did up in the manor.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to bring it back before the board
Do we
or not.
do we have a picture of the
I
building?
don't have that with me. You'd have to-
I guess what we're looking at is probably having the trailer not be just a used
I know.
Fulton County trailer. And be something that's a little bit nicer than that to be on that corner.
I don't want to slow down the process, but it'd probably be best for the applicant to, I could try to dig up some of the other ones and let them look at it and then come back before the board with an alternate plan.
I think that would be.
Because at this point, they don't really have a definitive solution for it. I'd rather show it to the board next month than if we had to. It's not like I could say, okay, I'll just add two bushes or something, and then I can, this is something that I think the board.
Well,
really
we're
has to look
accused
at.
constantly of just approving anything that comes across our board, or boards as a whole, and not caring, because you got Hidden Forest that's right behind it. Whether you like it or not, you can see from Hidden Forest over to the mobile home that's going to be there for the trailer. And that's not what that community bought for, you know, and
There are a lot of trees already there. We can still put some bushes if we want, fence, we can put it. I mean,
Bushes are not gonna cover the trail. You need
No, I
trees
know.
to cover the trail.
but, you know, I mean, I
I'm
don't
more
want to
worried
wait
about
another
the
1
time
month.
limits, and the problem is we don't have any ability to constrain, keep it to a specific time limit other than the 3-year limit.
Limit is totally fine. We can give a lease agreement, whichever, doesn't matter. I mean, we know for sure, we don't want to stay there because when new building is done, we want to move. That's
How
not a
close
problem
are
at
you
all.
to being able to pull a permit on the new building?
We are
Physically
already,
start construction?
Well, we're finalizing the design, and actually Fulton County is one of the main delays because we need a sewer tap to be with that, because his existing building is on septic.
And the trailer would be
only-
on septic.
Only yesterday, only yesterday, we finally got Fulton County to say yes, but they haven't actually issued the letter yet for the sewer tap.
So you gotta have their
We're
sewer
gonna
tap
hold
to have the
sewer tap
building.
For 2 months.
Okay, but you gotta have the sewer tap to have the temporary building?
yeah. We have, right?
Well, no, the temporary we don't, but we need the sewer tap letter to apply for the permit. So we're finalizing all these documents, hopefully we'll apply next week for the building permit. But we're gonna connect the septic to the sewer line anyway, because, I mean, that sewer line has to cross the parking lot and get to the other side, to the other building anyway, it'll be right next to it, so there's no point connecting it to the septic.
Yeah, Bob?
My suggestion from hearing what the board is saying is just if we could defer the app maybe for 30 days, let them come back with a new proposal for a different type of structure, something much more upscale. And we'll look at that with landscaping and whatnot, and then let the board look at that and see if you can agree to that.
So different type of trailer will be acceptable, is that what we're hearing?
I think that what we're really trying, you're gonna be able to put your temporary facility. Now it becomes down to the design of what it's gonna look like, that temporary building's gonna look like. This to me looks like a $3,500 trailer,
Well, we are leasing that,
Used.
so I don't know what.
but it's a $3,500 used trailer.
But it's a temporary one, so I don't know. I mean, do we really want to spend that much money on the trailer? I don't know. I mean, we will put the fence, so you
If
won't.
it was my Montessori school, the answer would be no, I wouldn't wanna spend the money.
That's why we're putting the fence so that,
But-
you won't able to see it. So I
But
don't know.
we still have to live with our surrounding community. And if we allow for this particular building as a used building to go in and look exactly what it is, I don't know that it would be something that the citizens would find acceptable for them.
I mean, I think this isn't much different than a, sales trailer at the beginning of a neighborhood. We often require landscaping, lattice around the bottom of it to make it, look like it's not just a trailer.
We can,
And a handful of other things. So I think that the point we're at now is, assuming your trailer's good to go from an ordinance standpoint, which it sounds like it is, think about it, go back, revisit, come back with a landscape plan, and a little bit more detail around how you want to make that trailer kind of presentable. Because whether it's there for 6 months or a year, that's 6 months or a year of time that people have to go by and look at it, that you guys have to look at it, that the community has to look at it. So I think it's just incumbent upon us and this board to make sure that whether it's there for 1 day or 365 days, that it looks good all the time.
I thought that's why we are putting the fence there so that you won't see it. I don't know.
You still can see it. You see it from, you can see it from behind, you can see it from the sides. You still can see the building.
My question is, according to the ordinance, if this was a construction trailer, if we as a contractor needed a trailer there,
I could be wrong, but
it is allowed no matter how ugly it looks?
No,
for the duration of
it's
the
not.
construction?
No.
Construction trailer, not a sales trailer.
No.
But this isn't
No, we just approved a construction trailer right off of Highway 9, and they had
They
to,
had to,
yeah, oh, yes.
But
Here's
either
the
way,
other thing
this
too,
isn't
the
a
difference
construction
between
trailer.
construction and a sales trailer and what you want is they don't have the 3-year limit.
Right. They're less
Yours
than
is an
6 months.
extended
they're
period.
out.
And
Yeah.
we can limit them. Is that correct, Angela?
We have been.
We have.
The DRB doesn't look at construction trailers, they look at sales trailers, and they have to be gone by the time the last CO.
This isn't a construction trailer,
Right,
regardless.
so this
Right.
is
The
just a
comparison
different
isn't
different
there.
structure.
This is a structure that you
What,
do look at.
what I would suggest is that you get together with Bob and Angela. They know what they're looking, what we had looked at and what we'd approved before, and try to work it out with them before the board meeting that we have next, and then let us move forward, because obviously we've got to let you have the trailer. It just now depends on what's it going to look like.
So since this is a final review, can somebody make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion to
Yeah, I will, yeah. I will make a motion to defer final review for Red Apple Montessori Temporary Classroom 3505 Bethany Road for 30 days until the next design review board meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Get with Bob, and let's come up with a look that we can sell to, sell. Okay, how about 6B, Willie's Mexicana Grill?
This is what it is.
Where Radio Shack.
It's where Radio Shack used to be. So this is what it is.
Some updates, because they asked for the running money here over the door. So if you want to hand these out, you can some additional rendering.
Yeah, I think so. Remember that?
That's one of those there.
Somebody wants to pay that one at the end of this class.
You guys get me?
I think I have these already. You already have these.
Start your presentation.
Kitchen.
Hi.
Hello there.
Hi, I'm Ara Kitchens. I'm an architect with ASD, and my client is Willie's Mexicana Grill. And this project is located on 5304 Windward Parkway, Alpharetta, Georgia, 30004. And this is a tenant fit out in an existing shopping center. It's right off Windward Parkway. And what we're proposing is an addition in the back of the space. The existing space isn't big enough for us to fit a walk-in cooler and storage. So we're bumping out a little piece in the back. And so this back faces Home Depot. And the addition is roughly 200 square feet. And the finish is, it's just going to match the existing building, which consists of, I believe it's thin brick and stone veneer and stucco. And we're going to add an awning over the rear entrance to kind of match the front of the building. And I just, the extra sheets that Bob passed out shows the existing building.
Is the door just going to be a solid black metal door?
That's what's shown.
Oh, so in the rendering, the big tower piece that you see, that's existing, and it's just not rendered correctly. It's storefront. It's not black like that.
No, I was talking about the addition.
Oh, the addition. The addition will be hollow metal frame door that's painted a dark gray, almost a charcoal color to match the other service doors, the rest of the shopping center.
Is there any chance they could flip it around so the door faces the other direction?
If you put the door on the opposite side, though, you got the same amount of visibility. both directions from that side of the building.
That's a
Yeah, the other
service
side
door
is
is what
the
that is?
driveway.
It's a service door.
There's a wall right here.
This is the Panera Bread shopping
Right,
area.
right.
This was the
Yeah, we
old
know where it is.
Radio Shack.
You know, amazingly, that building really doesn't have a back.
Because you see it from
More
both
people
sides.
use the back entrance to it than they do the front. So,
She's tried to match all the existing building materials by bumping it out so it looked the same. We asked for an awning over the door because I didn't want the door to just be sitting out there floating.
And the door color, I can change it to match the stucco, the light stucco color.
Yeah, that would certainly make the
You know,
door
that-
disappear more.
Yeah.
that door's not gonna have a lot of visibility, any more visibility than the other service door back there. But
And there are trees around, you know, that area, so.
Are there deliveries coming in through that door?
Yes, so the back part of the building, so if you look at the site plan, all the loading and unloading will occur on, you know, near, in the back lot by, you know, the dumpsters, and they will use a cart to roll it to the new kitchen addition. And the reason why the door is on that end and not on the opposite end, it just it has to do with the space plan. If you look at the kitchen plan on, it should be in the package. Kitchen addition, grease trap plan. You can see that the kitchen layout prohibits us from flipping the door.
You can't flip that freezer to the other side?
We looked at that, and just from a circulation standpoint in the kitchen, it makes it difficult. And it would the cooler would protrude a little bit into the, you know, the walking aisle if we were to flip it.
Okay.
So.
I don't think this offers a whole lot of visual impact to us one way or the other. So, it doesn't really extend, I mean, what'd you say, it was 2 feet? How many feet is it?
7.7 feet,
7.4
4
feet.
inches. Yeah.
Overall significance to the building is minimal. It's actually the largest part of the lot that's still left. So, I don't have any issues with it. Any questions from anybody else? Do you have any public comment on the addition to this building? Bob, do you have any comment?
No?
I guess Angel's not there.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 6B, Willie's Mexicana Grill at 5304 Windward Parkway as submitted.
That's just to note that that would be with the awning over the door and the door changing color to match the stucco.
Okay.
Is that right?
No,
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yep, I agree.
Second?
Second, I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, young lady.
Thank you.
Courtesy review. Oh, this is where we added one. Where is Angela?
Parkside's.
Parkside?
No, we have a final review for Parkside.
We do? Parkside. All right. We can't do any final reviews today.
My name's Brendan Hicks. I represent South Tech Homes. This is on here for a covered patio. All these buildings have already been through DRB. In fact, one of them, this is for Unit 6 and Unit 14. Unit 6 is actually already built and occupied. This was a request from a homeowner that wanted just an enclosure or a covered patio where the patio area is now. And 14 is one that we have permitted that we're in the construction phase right now that we had a contract come in that they also wanted a patio covered through there. The last picture in there is actually another one that we already had built and done in another development, and it's going to be the exact same thing. It's going to match the front roofs that we have on the units now. Standing metal seam, have 2 columns out back with siding fascia, same color as the obviously as the house.
Just so the board knows that they're using 8x8 cedar columns on the front,
Right, on
the front, so they'll be matching that on the rear.
Right, and that's on 14. And also in there, one that we had at the DRB, I think in November or December, was for Unit 14, that actually the side of it faces Green Road, that Bob had requested that we put shutters on, as when we came back for a building permit, that he noticed it was the one facing Green Road. So I added that in that package, so it would be part of the file just in case.
So that one was, we put that on the original recommendation, right, to have the shutters on it?
No, sir. There was one small one on the side that we wanted, but when we turned in for the building permit, Bob had asked us if we could put them on because it faces Green Road, that if we could add them on the side of the units itself. So I went ahead and added it to this package since we were coming back in this month for this. So.
Bob, do you have any?
No, we encourage porches, and I think this would be nice. It breaks down the building scale and makes it look a little nicer. I'm glad the homeowners were looking for it. So we encourage to have front and rear porches.
Ed, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 6C, Parkside, as submitted.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank y'all. See you again next month.
So our next one's going to be courtesy review for 13309 Flamingo Road, Lot 105. It's you again.
Here I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I'm Doug Dillard with Persian Freeze and Torgerson. We represent the applicant. They're asking for a 7-foot variance on the 25-foot rear yard setback in order to be able to develop this lot in conformity with the other lots that are located. It's the unit that's on this far right side. I think you've got a site plan that shows you the curvature of the road and the detention facility that's located to the rear. It's located on a curve of the street, which diminishes the buildable area. If approved, the requested variance would allow the applicant to construct the townhome on property in accordance with the development and maintain the intent of the ordinance. The curvature of the street creates a unique situation which restricts the buildable area, and this 7-foot variance would allow them to build this other unit. And they abut a detention pond to the rear of all those units, which is back in the back of it, and so it would have no impact on the adjoining property owners. So we would ask that you recommend approval to the zoning review board, which will be the ultimate decision maker for the board. I have Thad Higgins with Taylor Morrison, the applicant, here to answer any questions if you have some.
Was Lot 105 on the original plat?
Sir?
Was this on the original, when this was originally developed?
This plat was on the original plat, as I
The plat
understand.
was there, but the building wasn't on the plat.
So that was a vacant lot?
It just shows it as a plat. The footprints aren't shown, so now they're putting the building, they're extending the building into a rear yard.
Okay. I guess the question I was trying to get to is if this lot was intended to have a townhouse on it from the very beginning? Or do we know that?
It's a lot. And there might be other configurations, like rotating the building so that it conforms to the curve, and then it would conform to the setback. So I guess there are other solutions. If you just want to keep the building straight in a row, as it is, that building sets back off the other ones to try to conform.
What about the front porches on 104 and 105? They're kind of jutting out in front of that 20-foot building line. the front corners of the front porches?
And the porch and the deck can go into the setback up to 10 feet.
Okay.
Not the main dwelling.
Okay.
So I guess you could rotate this dwelling or make the dwelling smaller in order to conform. And then, Mr. Chair, there might be some public comment on this one. So.
I'm trying to just think of how you would conform lot 105 on the curve. It would look kind of weird if it was turned, wouldn't it?
Well, either the unit would be smaller, or you'd have to reconfigure maybe 104 and 105 somehow. Maybe you could break them away and...
Are any of these currently built?
I don't know. No.
None of them are currently built?
The architecture's come before you, but now it's showing with plan review that it's encroaching.
Green space.
Yeah, none of these buildings have been built.
Right. Well, let's do that. Let's listen to the public comment next and see where we are. Would the public like to step up and...
I hadn't written anything down because I wasn't sure I was going to have anything to say. My comment would have been based on what they had to say, so.
So do you have anything to say?
Yes, I guess I do have some questions, but is this the proper forum to ask a question?
We direct it to us, and then we'll
Okay, well,
have to seek the
I'll
answer.
fill it out. All right, I'm Margaret Lutens. I live at 3515 Peacock Road. And I'm here, and I have much the same question. What was originally platted for this portion of my neighborhood? From what I understand, it was originally platted by Fulton County, and things have changed. And you know, I've talked with you before about a easement that goes from my neighborhood onto Bethany Bend on the property adjacent to Mr. Weaver's property, which is the property that the Red Apple Montessori School people were adding to their property. Somehow, and I have been unable to find out why, building permits were issued and houses were put up right in the path of the fire easement, which now prevents a fire truck from going through there. So there seems to have been a lot of confusion and a lot of dropping the ball in this neighborhood. So I would like to know what was originally planned for here. And this is an extremely soggy area of our neighborhood. This is right across from the Young's home, and I walk over this property to go to the dog park right now, and it's pretty soggy the whole time. So if they're planning on putting up more impervious surfaces than was originally allowed, and as time has gone on, flooding has become more and more of a problem, I'm not sure that allowing them to build more than what would have been there originally is a good idea. We've got the retention pond to one side, then you've got the dog park right behind it, and then right behind that is where the big wetlands area is that everyone can see when you come around the corner. So this is a very environmentally sensitive area, one of the most flood-prone areas in the whole neighborhood. So I think we have to be extremely careful what is put up here to begin with, and that's my concern, that we're not putting up more building than we need to and impacting the environment any more than we need to, not just for the people in my neighborhood like the Youngs, but the people across the street, the people down the stream. So that's been my concern from the beginning, what's going on with the environment in this neighborhood. And I would just like to know what the environmental impacts of doing anything on this particular part of the neighborhood is.
The same amount of rain falls on that lot, whether it has a house on it or not. But that being said, it's still the right thing to do to find out how the water is going to be addressed for that particular lot.
And what was originally
I don't know
allowed.
that we can really know that. They platted it as a lot, so it's a lot. And that's all we know. We know it's a
Okay.
lot, and you have to assume the developer would have addressed it on the plat that if he wanted it for green space, if it was meant to be for green
Well,
space and green
we've
space.
had so
he
many
wanted to build.
different people developing that it's
I
now
know,
like
but I'm-
playing telephone.
I know, but
so-
I'm talking about the very first person that did it and what
Javad.
Fulton County's intention was
Right.
when they did it. You know, we can't, it's unfair for us to change it after the fact. We can't just arbitrarily take the lot away.
No, I understand that, but do we really know what it was meant to be?
That's again what I just said. It's a lot and it was.
Okay.
It was always zoned and intended to be a townhouse. When, I guess on the LDP or the plans we've seen before, it was just a box drawn on there. They hadn't picked a product.
Okay,
to
well,
go
I
on
understand
there.
that, but then we had the problem
Now-
with the fire easement. Those were originally just a plot for a house too, and somehow they got positioned in the way of a fire truck easement. So I'm just hoping that the necessary caution and
I don't
research.
know how we could have, how it would have been approved with
But it
not
did.
being able to get the fire truck in there. I've been in your neighborhood.
Right,
I know
exactly.
I know it's a tight fit, but that all being said, I need to get from staff exactly whether in compliance or we're not. The big question right now is whether or not this changes water flow, which it does not. I mean, it's not going to create more water than what's already there. We may be able to use this to be able to direct water better or whatever it may be. That's something for the developer to address.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, so
and
we've now established, so now the bigger problem is how do you allow within what's conforming to allow this building to be built as presented, going 7.5 feet back?
I'm going to sit down while you figure it out then. Thank you.
I'm just
And looking
asking
at
a
this, I'm curious as if you were to take lots 103 through 105 and detach them from the remaining and then turn them at an angle so that they are not in the buffer. See what I mean? Because that back angle and the front angle, like I said, I don't have to
You can
measure
go up-
anything, but
you
you
can
can
go up
turn
to-
it so they are all kind of at an angle along the curve there, and then none of them would be, put the homes in line, and then none of them would be in the setback.
But you got, then I've got the stormwater over here that you got to worry about. So you can only move it catty corner probably. Doesn't look to be more than about 6 feet or 10 feet. What do you think, Tim? You understand what I'm saying? You take this, and even if you did what he just suggested, you can't go past this spot here.
No.
So you'd have to convert the building, so how much do you really gain? Do you put actually 2 buildings in the setback by doing that?
Turn it off so that becomes a pinch point.
It does.
That's what I was saying.
And so it's the lesser of the evils to.
Yeah, I'm
what
not
you
saying put it in the storm drain. I'm just saying if you take these and almost put these 3 in line and then just turn it so they're like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's gonna.
I think those buildings will come together.
They'll come together kind of at a point at the end, but
It does.
But it gets it out of the.
It would do that.
Potentially get it out
You
of the.
could also redesign 105 and just make it a smaller unit.
Yeah, it could be new design just for that
A
one.
different design. Maybe you can reconfigure it somehow and just do a custom design for that one
A
unit.
smaller unit, but it's on the end.
You could bring it forward a little bit. There's some area in the front. You could probably redesign it and
Would it
capture
be
some
better,
space.
Bob, to have split the difference between the front setback and the back setback to where it's 3.5 feet or whatever it could be? Move it forward. Do we give up some of the frontage? And does that give you enough for the parking pad?
I think it'd be better to put the overflow in the back, not bring it closer to the street.
Okay.
To push it back if you're going to do that, to me.
You eat right on top of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the challenge with redesigning is that these townhomes are all kind of supposed to look similar. And if you got one that's totally different, I don't know if it takes away from the.
Well, you can make
look of
the front elevation the same, just redesign the inside to make it conform. Or you could just say you're okay with a setback encroachment.
Or not.
If the board is not in favor of a setback encroachment, the option would be to redesign it to conform.
Okay. How about some comment from the board in terms of what they think? Go
I'm not
for it.
I'm not in favor of it. giving them a variance for the setback.
Not either.
Okay, Ed?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right way to go. I mean, they need to come up with something that's conforming, I would say.
I would adjust the floor plan.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, either adjust the floor
Yeah, I
plan
mean,
or modify the layout so it fits.
Let's ask the citizens how they feel about whether, if the builder was willing to develop this as a different building, this end unit altogether to make it smaller, to be conforming, would you prefer that? Would you prefer let them have the setback and have the buildings all be the same?
We have a minimum square footage we gotta maintain under the zoning, so
All right.
that,
What's the minimum square footage now?
I think it's 20. I think it's 2,000 feet.
This
Can
is
we-
2,558 feet.
Yeah.
So there is a little movement that you can do.
You can make it a little wider.
Or
Yeah, you
could
got 3
definitely-
feet. Yeah, you got 3 feet to the right.
You can make it a little wider and a little less deep, and it would conform.
Yeah.
And you
What
wouldn't
about
need a
making-
variance at all. I mean,
So the question is,
there is a
would the
solution
neighbors
without a
want
variance.
something
make
that
the
looks
two
shorter and
end
fatter on that end unit, or would you rather have something that looks like what's there now?
We don't care. Right now, we have no sidewalk. The sidewalk that connects us with the pool area and the dog park goes in front of these units that they propose to build. We just need to make sure that they allow room for that sidewalk. Right now, the kids walk in the street.
So it would
Well,
come
what-
down to the
the
crux of the
sidewalk would
biscuit.
be in there.
Yeah.
The sidewalk is the most important part of the equation.
Either
Well,
way,
and
either way,
two-
we make sure the
No,
sidewalk is
they'll,
there.
they'll
And
have a sidewalk.
if they adjusted it so there was, I mean, because when you drive in, you're going to see a wall, basically. If they were to make something a little wider, they could architecturally do something different on that side to make it more visually appealing when you
Yes.
drive in as well.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be as deep. Might look better.
Or you could take the two end units and set them back and to give it some, you know what I'm saying? So that it all balances.
Well, the other side is working just the way it's fitting.
Well, I understand that, but visually, if you got to make that different, is that going to throw it off a little?
Oh,
We wouldn't build a
That's
sidewalk.
that's what I'm saying.
yeah. Well, they do have land area on the other side.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is a
so
wider lot.
To
but
make the
you could
two
do
end units
both.
the same, shorter, fatter, wider.
You have enough room on the sides,
Yeah,
Maybe do something
on
different
both
with the
sides to do
roof
that.
Yeah, and
You can make two of the end units the same if you want to recommend that.
Yeah,
And that's going to be redesigning
yeah.
essentially the whole
the
building.
two end units.
Well, 99 and 105, they would just do one and flip
So,
it
I
the
mean,
other way.
visually, the impact of the building is going to be significantly different, which is going to require for the architects to go back and redraw those buildings to fit all back together.
Right.
It's not
But
as
they would be
simple.
in
It's not
conformance.
as simple as just making it shorter and fatter.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
it's a pretty significant change for us. We've actually got the elevation for that side that was approved by DRB previously, if you guys would like to review that again. It shows the articulation of multiple windows and actually adding a balcony area on that side where you would drive in and see the visually, aesthetically appealing nature of all that window treatment. So if you'd like to take a look at that again as we propose it, you're welcome
Yeah, if
to
you
see
wouldn't
that.
mind. Really, I don't think so.
Laura, do you really care about that? Do you really care about us going back into facilities? Do you care? Extend back in that area right there.
I'm with these guys. We got caught, didn't get the variance. This is that.
I agree.
That's kind of my position is if the community itself, it's a gated community, and it's building, we get it. This whole subdivision has been
Right, but when we approved this, it wasn't with the understanding
Right.
that it was going to
Right.
require a variance to shoehorn it in there.
That there's going to be a variance.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change one. I wouldn't change one, it'd be both if I did them. Yeah, from an architectural standpoint, Tim, do you think we're better off with just
Yeah, I'm not
maintain what's there.
For that amount in the back where you never see it.
You got to travel on.
It's in the back.
What do you think, Bob? I think for the amount of the variance, they're wanting to give 7.5 feet.
As long as they're okay with it.
If the neighborhood is okay with it, and the community, it's almost like you're already changing a product that's already there, this will be building that is strictly unique to it and not the rest of the community. So it's like the devil you worship, which one do you want to do?
The board could also make recommendations for additional items, like if you want some additional landscaping, or you could just say, no, we're not in favor of it, we want it redesigned.
Mr. Young, would you like to come up and go ahead and make your comment? Because I'd be interested in what you have to say.
I'm Gary Young. I live at 13325 Flamingo Road, Hidden Forest. Representing some of the residents, I guess our concern would be as you drive in, when you set it back 7 foot, that would be that additional wall we have to look at when we drive in. You'll see the whole side, I understand that. And the stairwell would probably block some of that 7-foot wall, I would guess. But still, that would be one of my concerns. How's that going to look when you drive back through there?
Well, generally speaking, I would imagine a three-dimensional view would be better than a flat view if the building was just flat all the way across it. But
yeah,
I think it would too.
And so, historically for me, I've known that the more dimension you can add to the face of the building, the better off you are. Because the truth is, if you can see down a straight line for a long ways, you'll see every imperfection known to mankind. Though I understand the concern.
Well, that
7
plus-
feet by the time you put 2 cars in front of it,
Right.
it's just not going to be that much, and it's not going to be something that just jumps out and grabs you if it's
That
consistent.
was combined, that we were originally told there was going to be 2 stories, not by the builder we have now, but the original builder. I guess JEH, Jim Jacoby, told me there was going to be 2-story, but somehow that got changed. But with that being 3-story there now, then maybe how this would look when you drive in, that's our concern. It's going to be 3-story, I understand that.
Well, let me ask you this. Would it be better for you if we made it conditioned upon more mature trees, larger trees put in that opening, that field or the yard that's next to it, and be able to break that up to where they put a more mature versus putting I don't know what a 3-inch caliper tree. I mean, I know what it looks like, but I mean, what size caliper tree can we afford for them to put that would help break up that wall, that monotony along those walls right there?
We could certainly add some more landscaping in that area would soften it up.
Well, like for
As a
example,
condition of zoning.
a 5-inch caliper tree or 4-inch caliper tree, how tall is that? If you pick something, that'd be a 25-foot tree, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty big tree to plant. I mean,
So if we took and made a focal area of that yard there and you put a 25-foot tree in the middle of it and landscaped around it.
25 is pretty big. You want to go with like a 2.5, 3-inch caliber?
I like big.
I could
go big or go home.
I'll tell you,
really want to put a big one in.
Let me ask you a question. How much does a 5-inch caliper or a 4-inch caliper tree cost in let's say a birch, because birches would do well in the water, right? Are they good for that?
The roots
Birches
go
are pretty
on-
trees.
River birch, the roots end up coming up on top. A maple would be something nice.
Okay.
Grow fast.
I just gave the birch only because it was the first thing that came to my head. But
Maples grow fast too.
yeah. So what I guess I'm trying to say is that we give up something on the setback, but we add treescapes that are more mature that break up that view that you didn't want to see. The 7.5 feet in the back does not really affect anybody, does it?
It's not on the exterior corner that you would visibly see. It's more on the interior portion, the way it's a pie shape.
Right. My only concern is if we take the stance that we're giving up something by letting it go back in the setback, but we end up accepting a building that's not consistent with the rest of the buildings. It's what's worse. And so it's not that I really want to set a precedent that we say yes to everything. What I'm interested in is that we find a way to work this solution out. Because unfortunately for us, this lot, all these lots over here precede anything we've done as a city. And this is the last of them, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So if we could get through to the last of them and make concessions that are consistent with consumers, what they want, and the city architect and all of us just try to come to a meeting of the minds. I agree with you, Laura, that we should not be going, there's a reason for variances and there's
For setbacks.
for setbacks, and the reality of it is the lot's the lot, the style of the buildings are the style of the buildings, and Fulton County didn't do a good job.
No, I get they didn't do a good job, but you know what, you know what you got, you know what you bought. I look at it at that side too, you know what? I'm a business person too, you know, look at what you got, figure out what you got, what you bought. Sorry, I'm the hard rule.
Were the existing buildings
Yeah.
that originally platted, were they all within conforming status? Or did they even present anything?
No, they just present a lot.
A lot. You don't know what's going to go on the
It's
lot.
just a box. It's just a plot.
Generic shape.
Generic shape, and then you have to fit the building on that
But
particular
if I'm
lot.
gonna buy something, you know what? This is where I get a little bit peeved with some of these folks that buy the land and then they come back for the variance. You know what? Go out and do your due diligence. I gotta do that for my business, you gotta do it for yours, bottom line. And I'm sorry, this variance garbage, it's out of control. You know, you do your homework with what you bought. That is my bottom line, I'm sorry. You know? It is what it is. That's my opinion. I look at it from a business perspective. That's the way you got to do it. You know, we can't keep giving variances to folks.
I mean, they could potentially redesign that particular end
Could,
unit
or you
to
could just
conform.
not do the end unit too.
Or just- or just
You
not
can do
the
that
end
too.
unit.
I'm all about trying to work with people, but you know, there's a point where there's a line, and it's like, you know, we all are working businesses, and you got to know what you got, and you got to know what you're going to fit on what you got. That's my point.
There was talk about watershed. I think we discussed that about a month ago with Chris Cabina, Mr. Hicks, and I think the lawyer was present. And I think we pretty much resolved that Chris said he was going to, because we have a water problem down in that area, and he said he's going to tile that to the back of the units. I believe that's part of, should be on record. So the watershed, when they backfill, as long as they don't backfill too high, and we talked about that situation where we don't take the water off of lot 10 or 99, put it on, clear down on 98, which has a swell which goes down behind all the units there, put all that water down behind us. I think we discussed that, and that's a matter of record, I believe. So I think that issue should have been resolved as long as it's installed like that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So would the board like to make a collective recommendation, or?
Well, I guess my thought is if we just say, no, we're not in favor of the variance, then they're going to go back and they're going to reconfigure it, which, you know, is okay. I mean, they can do that. It's your right. It's your lot. And, you know, if you don't ask for a variance and you come up with something that's consistent with the building, I'm not confident that product's going to look better than what they're suggesting here. That's my concern. So,
Well, I don't think they're going to bring forth something that's not going to sell.
Right.
I mean,
no, I'm not saying it's going to look terrible. I'm just going to say, you know, Margaret's going to be waking up every morning to all these long, thin townhomes all lined up. Now they got a blocky one on the end. Everybody's going to say, what were they thinking?
We've always talked about in these meetings that what we want is that the citizens that have already bought, the stuff coming behind them is what they bought into.
Yeah.
In other words, we can't change and should not change the plan mid or anywhere in the stream. It should be this is what was planned, this is what we're going to do, that's it. The only thing we can obviously do at this point is realize that the developer planned a townhouse to be on this lot. That's what was planned.
Or they didn't plan.
Or the law, their plat shows that there is a structure on this lot to be a townhouse, no matter what size it is.
Well, but it didn't fit. My point is, once again, I'll go back to, so you kind of planned, but you didn't, and it didn't fit. So the point is then you got to come up with a better plan. I mean, that's, instead of, I got X number of feet to work with, I got to work with that, and I got to figure it out from architectural perspective what I can do with it. I mean,
Can I interject? So what I'm understanding. Okay, I just want to make sure that I understand that all of the other units here are within what's allowed, and this one on the end isn't.
Correct.
So Laura's suggesting that if you get rid of this unit on the end, then the rest of these are compliant, and this could be used for a greater green space area, perhaps? So
I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying,
suggesting that.
Well,
that
I'm not. Okay, so I just want to be clear.
All
That's
right.
not. My point is.
This one doesn't fit, and at the
Right,
time.
right now.
How many square feet is it not?
So Margaret, what they're doing with that one unit is they're pushing that thing back
quite a bit.
7 feet. They're taking the front of the building and they're pushing it back 7 feet, and it's coming 7 feet out the back. The problem is the 7 feet on the back encroaches into the setback, and that's the problem.
Right.
But it's
and
only a percentage of the.
But
rear of
that's
the
also
property.
where that retention pond area is.
Correct.
That's
Right.
that's part of the problem.
Yes, so the alternative
Uh-huh.
is they may still push it back, and they may bring it back in compliance this way. They've still got room to go this way.
Okay.
There's probably,
Out
15 feet this way, right?
closer to the dog park.
Heading towards the dog park. So the question is, do you want a shorter, fatter end unit that looks completely different than all the others, because it'll be compliant because they're within the lot? Or would you rather say, okay, we'll give up 7 feet on the back because actually, look at me, Margaret.
Yes.
That back corner is where it's in a variance. It's the back left corner.
Not the whole part, just.
Not the whole part, just the back left corner is over.
So in other words, if you're standing looking at the building, the back left corner of the building.
back left of this one?
Yeah, the last one. Yeah, yeah. So the back left corner of that building is what's in the setback.
So Bob, how many
Outside
square
of the
feet do you think's in the setback? About 50? The square feet of the structure?
Probably.
Yes,
So basically, they're intruding on the back by 50 square feet. So you have to define whether 50 square feet is really, if that's worth changing an entire building and the look of the community for that one unit, for that 50 square feet.
I mean, I think you probably should assume that they're going to build a house there. It's either going to be a house that looks different than all the other ones and fits within the lot, because they'll have if they make the house that fits within the lot and is compliant, then it's plotted, they'll be able to build a house there. Or would you rather say, hey, look, it's 7 feet on the back corner, but it's going to look right. They're all going to look the same. They're going to look equal.
And by us allowing them the variance of pushing it back to the 7 feet, we can go to them and say, look, we want bigger trees, nicer landscaping, whatever. You got the leverage to do that.
Well, no, hold it. Wait a minute. What you just said, actually, Rich, is wrong. We approved this with the knowledge that this was in compliance. It is not. So I'm taking back what I approved. It's not in compliance. I approved something that was not compliant. Therefore, whatever you're going to build there, we got to agree to. Because we approved something that was not in compliance.
If they change it,
Right.
if they change that building.
So I don't have to prove
we
that.
We will have it come before us, and we will have to vote on that end unit
Correct.
to whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
No, I'm not disagreeing
They're
with
not
that.
getting a free pass.
No, I'm not saying that's not what I'm
Yeah, but I want to make that clear to her. So I'm just trying
I'm simply
to.
saying that if they want to build a house there, they have the ability to build a house that is within the lot and not in a variance. And yes, it'll still have to come to get approved and all that the way it looks.
Right, we're going to tell them what the design needs to look like.
We
We're not just
cannot
gonna approve it.
unreasonably withhold their ability to build on that lot. So if they're in compliance, they can build something on that lot and you have to determine whether the something is a better thing than what the encroachment itself is. See, for me, I'd be more worried about the consistency of the neighborhood, the consistency of the houses, than 35 or 50 feet that's actually in that encroachment. Do I think it's poor planning on the original developer's site? Absolutely. Do I think Taylor Morrison should have done a better job at knowing what their product was going to be on lot 105? Probably. But we're here. We've already approved it at one point, even though this section 105 has to be taken back. But you got to realize this is essentially, even though it's a multitude of buildings, it's really one big structure that's being built. And you just have to determine whether
Right, I
the 50 feet.
understand that. I don't have the background necessary to make a decision, so I have to trust your judgment as you're talking to me about this. What I do know is that I don't really trust them very much. The last time we were here and we talked about the decks and we had the discussion about putting the chocolate stain on the decks, they didn't bother to use the chocolate stain on any of the wooded patio fences. So now we've got the 3 decks.
Okay, but let me just say.
Okay.
If in fact we approved it with a color for the stain for the fence and the decks, and they don't do it, you can come to City Hall and you can complain. They will
Okay.
send somebody out there, they will look at it, and they will force them to comply.
Well, that's fine. I just don't like having to be with people you have to force to do something when they should just do it. So while I trust you, I
No.
don't necessarily trust them to do the right thing.
So trust this. Laura's perspective is one that this is what you got to build within, and that's what we should do because you shouldn't allow for variances. That's her perspective.
Okay.
I don't disagree with Laura. The problem that we have is we have a product that was built or developed prior to us being here, prior to us being involved, we've been plagued with problems from the beginning. As a board, as a city, we have tried to address all of those. So now we're down to these last few buildings, 6 buildings. We have 50 square feet standing between us and getting your subdivision completed and done and getting this part of your life over. So the thing I would try to say to you is that on the back slot, it's not the optimum world to have it go go inside the setback to the back.
All right, here's an idea. I'm trying to work on this. So, a couple options. I would rather see, instead of this thing getting set back, I think that looks funky. That just looks weird. It just doesn't look right. Bring it forward and make it smaller, like Bob said. That's one idea. Second idea could be to rescale all of these units to be a little bit smaller, move them in a little. That's going to cause re-architecting, but you know what? Should have been done in the first place. So should have known that this lot was not going to fit your product. So those are 2 choices. Then that at least gives the community the same look that you came in with. And, you know, if you're not going to get $2,500 on every unit, that's the way it goes. I mean, I'm sorry. You know, you're not going to hit your revenue number, but, you know, should have known that going in.
That's a zoning condition.
It's not a zoning condition. No, it's not. It's 2,000, sir. 2,000.
What is it, Bob? Angela?
2,000.
I'd have to see the zoning case.
So how about cutting the difference to 2,200?
Well, if we're talking about 2 stories and 50 square feet per story, we're talking about giving up 100 square feet on this building. I haven't looked at the floor plan
Is
on
that
this
3
building.
stories though?
3.
3.
There's 3 stories.
So,
150.
okay. So
I just provided
about
2
roughly
options.
50 square feet per floor.
It would be easier for the applicant just to reconfigure the building, and he wouldn't lose any square footage, and he'd be in compliance. You could do that as an option. It would look a little bit different, though, as Ed said.
I know, that's the
It would
risk.
look a little different as far as the look of the building, but again, it would come before the board, and you'd all have.
Well,
an
see, I don't
opportunity
want to
to
be perceived, Bob, or to the public that I'm all for these variances. But I am all for, I'm really all for consistency within a community. And so we have to decide what outweighs what.
But if you've got a product that's a little smaller that you could fit on this lot, what's the difference? It still has the same look and feel, it's just a little smaller product.
But they give it 300 square feet per times 6. So they give
Even
up
if you make it more
almost all
narrow,
building.
though, they're all going to look off from the rest of the neighborhood too.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, Laura, is just to make that in unit just 7 feet shorter, so it's a little bit less square footage, but the width and look all stay the same.
Well, hold it though. This community has 3 different builders in it anyway, so a minor variation to me wouldn't be that big of a deal because we've already had 3 different builders. But it would still look like a front versus one set back. That to me looks very strange. I mean, it just looks odd. I
So
mean, I
I
can't
think
imagine going in.
But even if they moved it forward, they would be in the front setback at that point.
Here's what I'm thinking. I think what we need to do is we need to table this to next month, or so that we can wrap our heads around what is the minimum square footage, so we can know what we're exactly working with. Because if we're not, is it better to give up the square footage on the setback, or is it better to go below the minimum square footage? Which I would suggest that it would be worse for the neighborhood to lower the square footage of the buildings, all of these buildings, than it would be to go within that setback.
Well, we already said, somebody said that, what, we're at 2,500 now, and the minimum was 2,000, and we were talking 14 square feet. Well, 14 times what? How wide is it?
That's
You know,
that
if
building's
you chopped off that 7 feet, they're still gonna be okay, so I don't think that's an
Yeah,
issue.
they'll still be within the
They'll still meet the minimum.
minimum.
And then we have the other, not that I'm taking up for them, but yeah, we've always been real not wanting straight lines with these buildings. And so then all of a sudden we're now gone back into, you've got a straight line running across the back of these buildings versus trying to offset them, which is what we've really struggled to try to do.
I kind of like the offsets in buildings instead of just going flat across.
Yeah, because
the-
you'll make building 104 and 105 be straight across at the rear section of the building.
Well, but then why did we approve them straight across?
They're
about 2 feet offset.
They're about 2 feet offset.
And then the in
On
unit
the front would
is
still be offset. See,
9.5
these right here,
feet.
they are, each one stepped back at a different level all the way through, and so we could get away from a straight line on any 2 buildings.
Well, then, then how about moving these stuff back?
The offsets were approved as part of the previous DRB building that was before you.
All right.
And that offset actually will give you some screening to the back of the additional 5 units. So if that building is offset and blocks your view, you come into that neighborhood around that curve, you really wouldn't see the multitude of back porches that you have there.
How many variances have been approved in this neighborhood already?
About 600.
There are quite a few.
Too many.
They're still under their limit, but as I looked at that a while back, there've been quite a few.
So I still don't see how, if you could maybe step these back. There's got to be a way to make it fit. I think there's got to be a way to make it fit. I'd rather see it.
So basically, we come to a place in the meeting to where we have a choice to make. We can either table this to next month.
Actually, it's just a courtesy review.
It is? Good.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is a variance. We don't get to approve whether the variance is approved or not.
Right.
This is a courtesy.
They're just looking
Yeah.
for our
All
Sorry.
we've ever done with these courtesy reviews that are variances is say, assuming this gets approved, or when this goes to BZA, here are some suggestions we think you should make in order to have it approved. That's kind of where we've been.
And we'd definitely be amenable to any additional landscaping to screen any objectionable
As
views.
far as the individuals who spoke, I mean, from your perspective, would you be in favor of giving up 7 feet into the encroachment for consistency in the look and feel, or?
We don't really have any consistency in our look and feel. We have so many different styles of buildings at different
So
heights.
these don't look and these are not similar to what's already in your neighborhood?
No.
Well, they're similar in a way to some of the buildings that they have built, but they're not similar to the buildings that were there before. So again, what are you talking about being similar to?
I guess it's just, for this case, it's probably just similar to this section of townhomes.
It's just like a mile around the corner. I wish we could just all get in a bus and drive over there and walk around and look at everything that we're talking about, because I have a very hard time visualizing things on paper like this, and I think if everyone was able to just stand on the street and look, I think the whole process would be a lot easier for all of us, because I understand how you're struggling about what to do, that you've got certain principles and values that you want to apply, and then we've got common sense reality that is affecting what should or needs to be done. So I'm rather overwhelmed with the choices that we've been given and the opinions that I've heard and the points of view. So not being familiar with building plans, not being able, if it was set out on Lego style, I could look at it and have a better visual impact about what everyone's talking about. Standing here right now, I don't know what's best.
Have you seen this one yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, I think what we're torn with is it's not so much that I think we like the design, we like the way it looks. The decision that we're faced with is whether or not we, how much grace we're willing to show. It's like dealing with a child. You're either black or white, or how much grace you're going to show them here. And we've kind of been in this mode of giving variance, and at some point we have to, either.
I guess in my
fish or
notes,
cut
I
bait.
just want denoted that, I approved something that wasn't, that I did not know had a variance. I would not have approved it, so I want them to know that. So I would not have approved if I knew there was any sort of variance going to be involved. That's just the bottom line. So you can give those comments to the BZA.
And then as far as the design goes, the in-unit front entrances, so the awnings are just coming straight off the front. There's nothing around on the side on the in-unit or anything.
So since it's just a courtesy review, I think we can have our comments go forward to a different board.
I will include all of your comments. If the board doesn't feel comfortable with the consensus, I'll just...
What I guess in a simple format is we are struggling with just the allowing of a variance just for the act of allowing a variance. We support the citizens in terms of trying to keep continuity within the community. We talked about the redesign of the whole building to make two smaller buildings at the end. Though I do not really hold that I think that's a viable option, but and that's really it. It's just comes down to you either allow the variance or you don't. If you don't allow the variance, the applicant has his choices of redesigning the building to fit within conforming, or he doesn't put anything on the lot at all, which is incredibly unlikely. And then they would have to go back through the process. Then the citizens would be subjected to an additional amount of stress and just all of this. We just have to figure out whether 35 square feet or 50 square feet, whatever that may actually be, square feet is worthwhile.
I just have one comment. Whether you grant the variance or not, I think the landscaping needs to be there. Whether it's built as, whether you do a different building, it still has to be there. Because when you drive in, I'm the end unit right now, and it doesn't look very pretty.
The problem's going to be is if they come back and they come into conformity, we got less hold over them to get them to do the additional landscape items.
Right.
So it's a give and take, unfortunately, relationship. And what they will or won't do, I don't know. I don't know that he knows.
Yeah.
Well, if they come back, if they get into conformity and they redesign it, they'll have to come back for that end unit to get approved, and at that point we can say put in landscaping. So
Yeah.
Right.
But I think it needs to be done either way you decide.
I would agree.
I agree. I think that is a consensus to landscape it appropriately.
And the applicant has agreed to that tonight.
Yes. So it being left up to the BZA to determine whether they want to allow a variance or not. We have a mixed board as to whether it should or should not be done, and that's the way it works. Any other comment? Gentlemen, have a good evening. Do we have any old business? New business, does anybody want to reschedule for a dinner date that we usually try to do at least once a year? We missed it last year.
We did.
Huh?
We missed like the last two.
We went to Italian one time. It was pretty good. So, would anybody, we got the vast majority of our members here, Perry being the only one missing. Does anybody want to sit down and try to come up with there is no good date that's good for everybody, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a good idea.
I'm good for any time but Wednesday night.
I'm good for.
You could just have, bring some food here.
Just
Next
cater it.
meeting prior, 30 minutes prior. Or stay 30 minutes after. Just make sure it's a short meeting.
Subway does deliver, don't they?
Might get some Jimmy John's.
I am willing to do anything that our group panel wants to do. It's, McDonald's is okay.
I'm not doing McDonald's.
We should try to do Tuesday nights.
A Tuesday night?
nights,
Yeah,
best for all.
Tuesdays are good.
Angela?
Angela's Tuesdays
pick
good
a-
for you or not? Tuesday nights?
As long as it's not the third Tuesday. So I'm BZA the third Tuesday.
So we can do it on the second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday. So why don't we pick the fourth Tuesday of this month? It's close to Valentine's Day,
It's the 26th.
Martin Luther King Day. Isn't that, when's Martin Luther King?
Yeah, it's like the 18th.
Yeah, it's the 18th.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, that's the 18th.
Now, don't we have to send out notice of that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why we'd have to
We have to
put
be
notice
legal.
and post it
Yes.
wherever you decide to
How
go.
long does it have to be posted?
Probably 2 weeks. Or, I don't know, a couple days.
I know that Chris Lagerboom suggested a restaurant within the confines of the city limits of Milton.
Which one?
I think he said Union Station. didn't
You said Union, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Union over on the
I'm willing to do
Providence.
Union, Milton's,
Old Blind Dog.
Old Blind Dog. I'm willing to do whatever.
The Union is kind of noisy, though, I have to say.
It's open.
Milton's is a little quieter.
You want to try
Milton's-
Milton's?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we try Milton's? Is that something we want to? We'd have to pick somebody to be in charge of making the reservations.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that Tim Bryan is in charge of making reservations.
I second.
I'll second that. He can walk across the street.
You just let me know how many.
Yeah.
Just let me know how many, and I'll take care of it. I'll do
Okay,
it.
I'll just have somebody post it.
And let me know what day. What day?
26th.
The 26th at
6?
6?
Does that work?
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that
Let
the
me know
city
how many.
clerk posts something there.
Just send me a note how many it will be.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need to hold like open seats in case members of the community want to come?
I'll ask for some extras.
Well,
Well, we need to include in our list to invite Chris, our city architect, our beautiful Angela, Mark Law.
Mark.
I'd like to get it to where we invite the people that we work with on the city level, like Robin McDonald. I know that everybody's had a lot of interaction with her, or Kathy, or any of the rest. So I think it would be really good for us to have a one-on-one or table-on-table, if you will, conversation and get to know the people that we have to deal with and interact with on a monthly basis.
I will say that if we're going to have quite a few people, Milton's might not be, because they don't have big tables in there, that might not be conducive to getting a lot of people together at one table to talk.
I think we can let the decision on the restaurant itself be decided based on the number of people that say they're really going to be there. And if we have a real big number, which I doubt, but if we have a real big number, then we can
Modify accordingly.
Modify accordingly.
All right.
I call
Plan on
this,
the 26th, 6 o'clock somewhere.
it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So,
Okay, we'll find out who's coming, and we'll
Decide where it's going to be.
decide where, and we'll call Tim.
any other free comments? This meeting is adjourned. Good night.